Hi everyone, welcome back to Decals Models. In this video I'm carrying on with the Tamiya Castrol Celica WRC that I'm building, and this video is going to be working on the bodywork, as you can probably see from this. So I made a start. I've gone around some of the panel lines and deepened them a little bit with the back of the knife, and also sanded off any seam lines, and there was a couple of quite bad ones, especially down here in this area here, which I showed in the unboxing video, that needed a bit extra work, and then I've just given it a light sanding. So I've got all of the other parts off the sprue that are going to be body colour, like the rear spoiler that sits on there, but I'll paint that separately to make it easier to paint. And I've got a couple of bits like that that will need holes drilling out, but there's a couple of bits that I can attach straight away, like the back of the lights. So these actually sit, although they're not very clear, if I get the right side, these sit down there like that, so a lot of it is hidden underneath. So I'll make a start, I'll glue these on and drill some holes out. So what you've got on the underside is some markings for the holes where they want to go. So the first ones that I want to do going to be these ones here, and I'm starting with a small drill bit just to give me a guide hole where it wants to be. Like that, and then you've got the holes at the top, and then if I drill in from the top it'll make it a bit neater, because I don't know whether you can see there if it focuses, but these are now sticking out. You can see there, my finger, they're sticking out because I've obviously gone that way and pushed it through. So I'll, like I said, if I drill from the top now with the larger drill bit, don't know if this one's big enough, if I go that way, then it's not gonna have that raised bit. I think I need a bigger drill bit though to go all the way through, but that'll sit on top of there. I'll get the bigger drill bit in a bit, and then I've got an antenna that will sit in there, but there's obviously already a hole there, so I don't need to do that. That one I think I don't need. There's no evidence on the instructions for that, so that's possibly for a different antenna for a different kit. And likewise with this hole here, I think is for something different, which again I don't need. So what I also need to do is drill some other holes for the photo etched bits. As I'm using the hobby design set, there's a few extra pieces that go onto the bodywork, like the bonnet springs there, and there's a couple on the back as well that need to go on, which are these pieces here. So I need rivets to go through those, so I need to drill holes out for those. So I'm going to work out the positioning of those to get the holes drilled. I'm not going to fit them until after it's all painted up, but I'm going to go through, work out all of the bits that I need to do, and then I'll show you where I'm at. Okay, so I've got the holes drilled out now. If you can see, there's one there, and then a couple just either side of the lights there, which those brackets will go into. And then I've done the same on the back, two either side of where the number plate would be, and then two in the rear bumper. So I've left one of them off so I can show you what we've got. So basically that will sit there over that hole, and the other one will go down there. It's a little bit difficult to actually position it holding it in my fingers like this. You see how that covers both holes? So I've bent that one to shape so that I can position it where I want it and to drill holes. So I'll leave that off until it's all painted up. So all I did once I'd mounted it in position was I just got the pin vise and just drilled through to make sure it was where it needed to be. So that's most of this prep done. I've just put some filler on the backs of those headlight covers and on the sides just to neaten it up a bit, which needs sanding once that's dry. and there's a couple of other bits that will attach to the body as well, but I don't need to position and drill holes for those at the moment. The only other thing that does need attention is this piece here, number 23, is the exhaust heat shield, which is that piece there, and that's going to need to be bent to shape. So the way I would do that is to heat it up to anneal it, so that it's bendable, and then I can position it and actually bend it around the shape of that bumper. But I need this attached to the chassis to do that, to know exactly where the position of the exhaust will be, because if I try and do it as it is there, it's going to end up in the wrong position. So what I'll do is I'll fit that over there when I actually come to, like that, when I actually come to fit that, so that I know exactly where it wants to be. So again, I'll shape that before I paint it and everything, but I won't actually attach it until after everything's painted and sorted out. And a couple of other bits that need to be done I've got on this one here, the mud guards, and there's a couple of brackets that attach to those to hold them in place in the wheel arches, which I need to work out how I'm going to do that at the moment, so I'll show you that possibly in a bit. So that's where I'm currently at, so I'll show you the next bit shortly. One other bit that I was going to show you quickly on the spotlights, there's two parts. There's the bit that runs under the bottom here, and then this top part, and you can see there the join on that side, which I've tried to get as flush as I can, but then on the other side you can see there's quite a big step there. So I'm going to put some filler in there, and once that's dry I can sand that down and smooth it off to make that nice and neat. So it pays to check all of these things and parts that are going to be the same colour to glue them together before painting, so you can attack things like that, because obviously that doesn't look good like that, and once it's on the car it'll look a mess. So I'll tidy those up, and then I'll see you in the next bit. Okay, so I'm in the paint booth now, and I've loaded the airbrush up with Zero Paint's grey primer. So although it's going to be a white car, my preference is always to paint the grey first as a base coat, because I find it's easier to find any problems with it with the grey rather than the white. So I've loaded the airbrush up ready, so as usual just check the flow first, and then I'm just going to start painting. Start off with any areas that are going to be difficult to get at or might get missed easily. So I always like to paint from the bottom and work my way up the panels. It avoids missing any bits at the bottom that way. So I'm just going to go around it all like this. Missed it all on. As you can see, I'm not going heavy with it as the first coat. I just need to get something down to start with. So I've swapped my airbrush as well for the 0.5, which is the Revolution airbrush, Iwata Revolution. I normally use a 0.35 in the Eclipse, but for body panels and such I prefer to use the bigger nozzle, because you get a better spray and more even coverage with it. So that's the first coat. As you can see, it's a very light coat, hardly covered it at all, but it means that I can see if there's any problems where I've gone through when I was scribing or anything like that, any scratches, any flaws or imperfections anywhere. So I'm going to build up a couple of layers, and I'm going to do a couple of other bits as well, and then I'll show you where I'm at. Okay, so this is after 2 light coats, so you can see there's not much problem wise. but I have got a couple of areas like here at the back where it's not quite got rid of that seam line, and the same on that side there, and there's a couple of scratches that are in it that I need to sand out. So I'll go off, sand it all out, and then I'm going to go on to the next coat. So I'll sand it out, give it a couple more coats of the grey primer, and then we'll see where we're at. Okay, so I've got all the grey primer done and sanded back a bit, and any discrepancy sorted out in the body. So I'm ready for painting the next bit now. So I've loaded the airbrush up with Zero Paint's white primer now, ready to give it that next coat. So I'll just turn the extractor fan on. So as usual, just check the paint flow out the airbrush. I'm still using the 0.5 needle in the Revolution airbrush for this. It gives a much wider spray for, as I said before, for doing body panels and such. So I find for doing larger pieces, get much nicer coverage between the parts. Although it comes out pretty quick, so you find you use more paint than you do with the smaller nozzle. So as you can see, I've just doing a couple of coats on this. So I'll go off and I'll finish this off camera, and then I'll show you when I've finished. So between coats, I'm just giving it a little light sanding. So I've got some of these sanding discs by Merkur. So I've just been cutting small pieces off. So this one's 4000 grit. So I'm literally just going over and just giving it a very, very light sanding, just to get rid of any bits of dust or anything that's in the paintwork, and then get a bit of kitchen towel just to wipe it off, and that gives it a nice smooth finish then for ready for the paint. So I'm just going over all of the parts now with this, just to give it a nice key, and then ready for the next colour. Okay, all that sanding's done now, so I've got a nice smooth base ready for the colour coat. So what I'm using for that is the Zero Paint's Pure Brilliant White. So again, I've got it loaded in the airbrush, so check my spray and then just start, as usual, start at the areas that might get missed. So I always start at the bottom, do the sills, bottom and bumpers and the wheel arches, and then work my way up from there onto the body. So at the moment I'm just going to give it a mist coat all over. So it might be difficult to see on camera as it's white primer and white colour coat going on. It might not actually show up that it's going down, but to my eyes I can see it. One of the things with the primer, although it's white, I don't know whether it's just my bottle or whether it's because it's quite old or what, but it's got a bit of a yellow hue to it, so it makes it quite easy when doing this to see where I've done and where I've not done. So that's the first light coat on the body, so I'm going to give that a couple of minutes to cure, and I'm going to do all the sort of little pieces like the top of the roof and stuff like that, and the bumper. So I'm going to go off, do that. I'll probably give them a second coat, and then I'll show you where I'm at. So the body, as you can see, has got all the base colour on it now, along with all of the smaller pieces like the roof scoop and spoiler and everything. So the next thing to do is to move on to the decals. And after my experience with doing the wheels, where they broke up quite badly, I'm not holding much hope for them. I haven't got a lot of confidence in them, but we'll see how we get on. I'll make a start and give you an update as to how it's going shortly. Okay, as you can see, I'm making my way through doing the red and green decals. So these have just been laid down on the front. They've not had any of the solution applied to them yet, apart from a little bit of microset just to help them stick. And then the rear ones and the ones on the roof have had one coat of microsol as well. But so far they're not going too bad. You can see there's a few creases on the back there where they've had difficulty getting it around that crease, because it comes round in a curve this way and it's curved that way, and it's curved that way as well, so it's quite a complex shape for it to get around there. I don't know how well it's focusing, and the same on that side that I've just been working through. But so far there's been a couple of small tears, but not as bad as I was expecting them to be. They're going down reasonably well. So I just thought I'd show you the next one going down. So I've got this front one ready to go on here. So I'm just going to put some microset over there, roughly where it's going to be. And then work out the positioning of it. So you can see there's a notch in the green bit there, which is going to go round, put it out of the way, it's going to go around this headlight section there, and then this gap there is going to go in that hole there. So I've got a couple of reference points to help me where I want it to go. So if I position that roughly where I want it, and then I can manipulate it into place a bit better. And once I've got it kind of right, then I'll get my tissue and then squeeze the air out from underneath. Try to keep it in place. She wants to move quite a bit at the moment. So this is a problem with all of these, that it's such a complex shape on the bodywork. Trying to get them to lay flat is proving a little bit challenging. Got some black marks there I'm just trying to get rid of. I think they're from the number from the decal. So you can see it's not going according to plan very easily, going where I want it. So it's just a case of working it where I want it, and once it's there, trying to get any air from underneath it. So you can see that it's ripped there, trying to manipulate it into position. So I just want to get some water under that bit as well. So it's difficult to actually see that bit, and I thought that was cut, which it's not, which doesn't help, trying to get it to lay into that gap when there's not actually a hole there for it to sit through. So this is all I'm doing at the moment, is just working my way around, doing all these decals like this. I'm trying to get them right. So you can see with the bulge on that one, where what I'm trying to work with on that area. So I'll apply some heat to that, get that to start to lay down. and then once it's start drying a bit, then I'll cut a slot in that, and then it'll lay down a bit better. I've already got the other one in water as well, so I can't cut that either now because I didn't realise. So I'll do those at the same time when they're actually dried off a bit. So I'll go over with a hairdryer, keep working it, do a few more decals. But what you can see here is the rest of the red and green ones that I'm going to do in this session, and then once they're all laid down properly, then I'll move on to the next ones. So I'm coming to the end of the red and the green decals now, as you can see. So most of them are done, and the last few that I'm doing are the rear spoiler. So I've applied the first one there, which I've lined up with the stripes underneath. So I thought I'd just show you doing the next one. So if I move those couple out of the way for now. So I'm just going to do this back one over here. So just get a bit of microset on the brush and just brush that on there. And then get the decal. I can position that over there. And then basically just work that into position so that the green and the red stripes line up with those underneath, as well as the ones above it. So once the spoiler is in its fixed position, then those decals will line up where they should be. So they're not the greatest fit really size wise for what you've got. It's not actually lining up perfectly on that one. Look at this one, and I'm not putting any setting solution on there or anything, but you can see that that lines up quite well. This back one, this other side, doesn't quite line up so well. But I've got the last couple to do on the back here. So again, if I just do the same again, just put some microset on the top there. Don't get stuck to my thumb. And then I can use the decal below to position where this one wants to be. Which I think is about there. And surprisingly, looking at the photographs, this gap here is correct, that it doesn't go all the way down to the bottom on there. It does stop short like that. So that's these decals done. Like I said, I've still got the rest of the markings and the sponsor decals and things to do, which I'm going to carry on with once these are fully set. I might have a bit of an overlap. So I'm going to carry on doing those, but to start with, before I move on to those, I'm going to go over all of these with Microsol, make sure that they're sort of fully flattened down and sat properly and all the rest of it, before I go on to those next bits, so that I know that these base decals are all exactly where they should be. So I'll show you shortly where I'm at with the next bit. Okay, now that all those are laid down, the next thing I'm going to do is just cut the decals on the shirt lines and things like that. So most important thing with this is a new blade in your knife, so that you don't rip it. And very carefully, what you want to do is just run the blade along the joins, the gaps where the doors and shuts are, and go around any areas where there's any shut lines like that. Down the front of the bonnet I'm going to do, along the boot lip, this side, anywhere else that has anywhere that needs doing, I'm just going to go over like that, and then another soaking of Microsol over it to get it to sink into those seams, just to have it a nice neat cover, so that it looks like the doors should open. And you can see there's still some air bubbles and things trapped under the decal. There's still a bit of work to do with the Microsol in there to get rid of all of those. I'm still working through those, but yeah, I just wanted to show you that next bit. And then once these are all dry, probably leave those overnight, and then I'll move on to the remaining sponsor logos and such, and get those done, and then it'll be ready for clear. So I shall see you at that next bit. Okay, so as you can see, I've got all the body decals all finished off now, so it's ready for some clear coat. So for this one, I'm just going to use the pre-thinned clear lacquer. It doesn't need any hardener or anything mixing in, it's ready to go. So just turn the extract fan on. I've got it already loaded up in the airbrush, so I'm ready to start spraying. So check my flow. So because this is quite a hot lacquer and I'm going over decals, I'm just going to do some mist coats over it all, and as usual I'm just going around the underside of it and inside of the arches and everything, and I'll build up the layers gradually on this. I don't want to go too heavy with it. So that's it for the first coat, and I've got all of the little bits like the rear spoiler to do as well, so I'll keep building the layers up and show you where I'm at in a second. Okay, so that's had 3 light mist coats on it, so you can see it's starting to get a little bit of a sheen to it. So I'm just checking, making sure that the decals are okay. But once it's pretty touch dry, like it is now, I can start building up some thicker layers. So I'm just going to top up the airbrush with a bit more clear so I don't run out. And then I'm ready to start spraying. But what I've just noticed is there's a bit of dust in there, so I'm just going to get a pair of tweezers just to remove that. Because I don't want that in there. So this is going to be a bit heavier now. Start to give it a bit of a wet look. So this isn't going to be like super shiny like you get with the 2K clears, but that's not the look that I'm going for with this build. So this is fine for what I wanted to do. So you can see it's still not super shiny, but it's getting there. So a few more coats like that and we should be nearly done. Right, coming to the final coat now. So going quite heavy with it now to get that shine coming through. I said about topping up the airbrush, I've just run out again. So that's the thing we use in the larger nozzle size. We tend to go through more paint, or go through it quicker. It's not a problem, just pick up where you left off. So you can see the shine coming through now properly. So I'll let that dry off a bit, see where we're at, probably give it another coat, and then I think that'll be it. Okay, so as you can see, I've got the body all masked off again. So after clear coating, I've let that dry. So I've masked it off ready to paint the black. So I've got the trim, door handles and a couple of other bits to do. So I've loaded the airbrush up with the Zero Paint Semi-Gloss Black. So I'll just turn the extractor fan on. And check my flow. So I'm just going to do a few light coats to start with, just to seal it in. I think I could do turning the pressure up a bit on the airbrush, on the compressor as well. So you can see I've not got it in the cradle, holding it with anything now, because there's so much masking tape on it. I don't feel like I need to actually attach it to anything, because there's enough places for me to hold without needing that. That's better. Turn the pressure up as we get the reasonable amount of paint coming out now. I know some people like to actually seal it all in before painting the trim, so go over it with some more clear or something like that after masking, but I don't really feel myself that it's worth doing that. If I've got any overspray, I'll just clean it off later. So that's the black trim painted. So I've got a couple of other little bits to do, like the roof scoop. So I'll go off and do that, and then I'll show you when I'm masking. Okay, so that's all painted off and dried. I've also masked off the headlights and sprayed those firstly with gloss black and then with alclad chrome, just to save me having to try and do bare metal foil or anything on them, because they're not a straightforward shape. So this is where I get to do all of the unmasking, and hope that I haven't got any problems underneath. And I'm particularly concerned with the decals, because they weren't particularly great. I'm hoping that it doesn't take any off. So there's a lot to remove here, so what I'll do is I'll go off, get it all removed rather than do it sitting here on camera doing it, and then I'll show you once it's all removed. Okay, so you can see there now all the masking tape's removed and where I'm at with it. So I'm not fussed about paint having a bit of overspray in there, because that's gonna get some bare metal foil. And the only problem I had was on the name there, where the masking tape's removed a little bit of it, but I'm not overly fussed about it because I can weather that. So last bit that I'm going to show you is doing an oil wash. So I've got some sort of white spirits in there, and then I just use this artist oil paint. So just put a bit in the tub like that, and then we can mix it up to give it a nice thin consistency. And then if you put it to your what's the word I'm looking for? Panel line gaps, where you want to do them. If you get a bit of over on that, just get a cotton bud and you can just wipe it off, and then just let this run down the joint. And it just gives it a bit more life. So I'm going to go around and just finish doing this on all of the panel lines, and then that'll be it for this video. So I said about doing the fixings and everything like that, which I will do in the next video, as I'm putting it all together. So thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next video.